Hey guys, what is up? In this video, I'm going to be talking about webinars. You know, webinars are a really powerful thing that we really haven't talked much about on this channel, and I thought today was a good day to kind of sit down and talk about webinars because I'm actually getting ready to host a webinar tomorrow, and I'm going to talk more about that at the end of the video, but let's go ahead and get started. So, stay tuned. Okay, so webinars. Webinars are an extremely powerful marketing, sales, training method, education method that really help you grow, not only grow your mailing list, but they also provide a service to the community in some ways. You know, you can use webinar for training, like I said, for a sales pitch. You could use them for education. You can use it for a product launch. Tons of purposes for webinars, and they are extremely powerful. Now, webinars have really changed over the last 3 or 4 years in how they can be delivered. It used to be that you had to use a service like GoToWebinar or some of the other big name players out there, but that's really changed over the last few years. Now, I have been doing some webinars lately, and I had just been using Google Plus Hangouts on air by itself. I was using Eventbrite as my registration system. I have a video on how I did that. There'll be a link right here to where you can view that video. But I also realized that I wasn't really utilizing a webinar the way it was really meant to be used. You know, Google Hangouts have chat, but then you have to bring everyone into the room, and it was kind of a pain in the butt to do it that way. So I started looking for some webinar solutions, and this is the one I chose, and actually I'm really impressed with. This one is called Webinars on Air. And what it does is it adds a layer on top of the Google Plus Hangout that allows you to have chat, Q&A, polls, offers to be put into your video. So let's just go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to hop over to the plans and pricing because this is the part when I looked at this, I was expecting it to be more than it actually is. So for the kind of webinars that I do, which I don't get a lot of attendance on my webinars, so for me, number of seats didn't need to be extremely high. So I went with this one, the basic, which is all of the features minus the automated webinars. At this time, I'm not really looking to do automated webinars. Essentially, an automated webinar is a webinar where you're in the room for the chat and the Q&A, but the actual presentation is a pre-recorded video that's just playing back. I've done those before. They don't, in my opinion, offer the same amount of connectivity because if someone has a question, you have to answer it in chat, and sometimes it's easier for me to answer it on video. So you can have unlimited webinars and 25 attendees, which for me was plenty. I went ahead and signed up for this account right here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually log into what they call the back office. So bear with me a second while I log in to Webinars on Air. So here is my back office, as they call it, and here is the webinar that I have created for Friday. If I go ahead, I'm going to go and open up the settings of this webinar. You can see I've given it a title. I gave it a description, the number of attendees. If you, let's say, only want to offer a webinar and you only are going to market this to maybe 15 people, let's say, you could set the maximum of attendees to 15, and then when all 15 have registered, you're good to go. You're done. The thank you page redirect, this is a setting that allows me to, when they register for the webinar, after they're done registering, instead of taking them to the thank you page, it's actually going to redirect them to a page that I have chose. I haven't used it yet. I just signed up for this service. Today's Thursday when I'm recording this video. I actually signed up for this service on Tuesday. So, haven't really had a chance to use all of these features yet. I'm really going to get to use it tomorrow when I deliver my first webinar with this product. The affiliate ID, you actually have to upgrade your plan for this one, so I haven't used it. Not too worried about that. Is it a free or paid webinar? I have this set to free, but you could offer paid webinars. That is right, a paid webinar. This will manage it. It uses PayPal as the transaction. Webinars on Air does not take any money as a fee or anything. It's all going directly to you. You make every penny you earn. Panelists. This is where you can add additional hosts to your webinar. So if you have a co-presenter, this is where you would add them. They would get an email with a link and a training video, to my understanding, that allows them to be able to learn kind of the basics of webinars on air and how the webinars actually work. Autoresponders, this is really cool. You can set it up to tie back to your autoresponder. I've done that for this one because I'm using this as a list building. Not only did I market it to my list, but I've also marketed it on social media. So these two numbers actually will hook back to my mail list. I'm using MailChimp, but you can do this. You can see here they've got iContact, Infusionsoft, Sendy, ActiveCampaign. They've got tons of them, and if it's not listed, you can export the data into Excel and upload it into your autoresponder. Automation I talked about earlier. I don't have access to that because I'm only on the basic plan, but if I was on the premium or platinum plan, I think is what they call them, you would have access to the automation. And then tracking, haven't really used it much, and I can't really find a lot of resources on this. I've got an email into the support team about how you use this, so maybe I'll come back and add a video on top of this video which will explain what tracking is. So once you've done all of this, you can go over and customize your page. So this is actually live currently, but this is my landing page for this webinar. This is the registration that's going to collect. Here's my description, when the webinar is going to be. They fill out this little form, they click register now, they are then registered. The other thing it allows me to do is edit the embed form. So I can take this form here and embed this on my site. So now I've added another layer of where people can access this information. So that is really, really cool. If I go back to the registration page, you can see there's tons of different settings you can do. You can add more fields just by clicking on this. It's really cool what you can do with this software. So let me go back to my main dashboard here. So when it's time to start the webinar, you would simply click on this and you click on Start Webinar. Now I'm not going to click on it just for two reasons. One, it would actually freeze this camera and take over in the Hangout, and plus it really lags when I'm screen recording, so I'm not going to click it for those two reasons alone. But essentially it's a Google Plus Hangout, and it will have a sidebar, and in that sidebar it will have chat and Q&A, polls, and offers, and those are really powerful features that I can ingest into the room as the webinar is going on. So that is it for this video. I've got 3 webinars actually coming up this month, all in pretty rapid succession here. The first one is getting started with Constant Contact. Are you looking for an email autoresponder? Well, this is your chance to learn more about Constant Contact. This is a free webinar. The link to that webinar will be in the description below. I'm also offering up my Getting Started with Evernote webinar. This has been a very popular webinar that I offer several times throughout the year. And this webinar, I really just start at the basics. What is Evernote? How can it integrate into your life? What tools and resources does Evernote give us that you might not necessarily be able to get elsewhere? And then how to host a webinar. This is a brand new webinar that I'm launching. In this webinar, I'm going to be talking about webinars. So taking what I just told you in this video and expanding on it into an hour-long webinar and really diving into some of the features that the service provides. Yeah, that's it. So I will see you guys in the next one.